In episode 23, season 7 of The Simpsons, Springfield's appalling mayor, Diamond Joe Quimby, beleaguered by querulous pestilential voters, asks the rhetorical question that defines our age.
Are these morons getting dumber or just louder?
It is an inquiry all the more perspicacious for having been posed in 1996, 8 years before the launch of Facebook, 10 before the launch of Twitter. This week, Brazil decided that it was no longer interested in the answer.
Liberdade de expressão não é liberdade de agressão.
Freedom of speech is not freedom of aggression. Freedom of speech is not freedom to destroy democracy, institutions, dignity, and others' honor. Freedom of speech is not freedom to spread hate speech and prejudice.
Liberdade de expressão não é liberdade de propagação de discursos de ódio e preconceituosos.
This past weekend, Brazil banned Twitter, now officially known, if really only by its weirdo proprietor and his legions of online acolytes, some of whom might not be AI-powered bot accounts, as X. Shortly afterwards, Brazil's Supreme Court unanimously upheld the decision. Elon Musk initially sought to circumvent the judgment by relaying X through his satellite internet provider Starlink, but as of this broadcast, Starlink has also buckled. Those among X's Brazilian customer base of some 22 million people still hankering for a media diet of racism, conspiracy, disinformation, misinformation, and inane arguments about absolute bullshit conducted by woeful idiots, at least those who cannot be bothered with a VPN or don't fancy paying the hefty fines now attached to accessing X illegally, will have to go elsewhere.
People my age aren't really in the habit of watching TV news or reading the news, and X was a way to get news from around the world. So I've lost touch a little with what's happening around the world and a way of entertaining myself.
The Foreign Desk explainer would appreciate at this time some due credit for the amount of energy we spent trying to find out what time they feed the monkeys at Sao Paulo Zoo. We were going to suggest attending this as a plausible alternative to scrolling through X. Seriously, it would have been hilarious. Brazil's yanking of X's plug is the culmination of a long-running spat between Musk and Brazilian authorities.
Having a lot of money does not allow you to be disrespectful. The citizen is an American citizen. He's not a citizen of the world. He can't offend presidents, congressmen, the Senate, or the Supreme Court. Who does he think he is?
X had been asked repeatedly to block accounts which were disseminating disinformation, especially following the attempt by supporters of former president and sore loser Jair Bolsonaro to stage a putsch in Brasilia in January last year. X was also told to name a new legal representative in Brazil who could field such requests and declined so to do. Brazil is not the first country to have blocked Twitter/X. It was already unavailable in Russia, China, Iran, Turkmenistan, North Korea, Myanmar, Pakistan, and Venezuela. But as a broadly functional democracy blocking Twitter/X, Brazil has laid down a marker, demonstrating what can be done to other democracies vexed with Musk's insistence on pumping garbage into their discourse. It is likely that many are paying close attention. Within recent weeks in the United Kingdom, it has been possible to watch race riots being incited on X in real time by furious dunces wound up by nonsense they read on X in the first place, while Musk sententiously proclaimed to his near 200 million followers that civil war is inevitable.
You were encouraging others to attack a hotel which you knew was occupied by refugees and asylum seekers. The overall effect of your post was to incite violence.
Hang on, we'll just look out the window. No, nothing yet. Since X's ejection from Brazil, Musk has sought to frame the dispute as a free speech issue, as tiresome blowhards so very often do.
Free speech is meaningless unless you allow people you don't like to say things you don't like. Otherwise, it's irrelevant. And if at the point at which you lose free speech, it doesn't come back.
However, Musk's lofty claims to be a dauntless defender of free speech of all kinds at whatever cost stand not even a few seconds' desultory research. One report last year concluded that since Musk bought Twitter, it had complied with 83% of censorship requests made by authoritarian governments. The point being, other than to highlight Musk's coziness with tyrants and wannabe tyrants, that as X can delete posts and suspend accounts, and as X does delete posts and suspend accounts, it follows that everything on X, and one does not have to look far to find racism, harassment, incitement, foil-hatted conspirazoid fulminating, Holocaust denial, pornography, graphic violence, and sundry drivel, is there because X allows it to be there. And at any rate, defending or upholding free speech is not really Elon Musk's job. He is the host of a private space, which, like any private space, is entitled within the law to impose conditions upon its customers. A person who barges into a bar, starts ranting about the elders of Zion and knocking over the drinks of other patrons, and is summarily deposited on the footpath by the bouncers, boot print in seat of trousers, has not had his freedom of speech infringed. He is welcome to yell at the traffic and bark at the bins. He has just been told, "Not in here, pal."
There has to be a responsibility that is placed on these social media sites to understand their power. They are directly speaking to millions and millions of people without any level of oversight or regulation. And that has to stop.
Brazil is not the only country where a consensus is growing that a reckoning with the big social media platforms is overdue. And why, yes, there is an entire recent episode of The Foreign Desk considering the matter, and you can find it on Monocle's website or wherever superior podcasts are downloaded. It is readily imaginable that Elon Musk's melodramatic angst at this prospect is further inflamed by the current travails of Telegram CEO Pavel Durov, potentially facing 10 years of French prison bouillabaisse on charges of neglecting to interdict criminal behaviour being conducted on his platform. It is, to be clear, bad that it should have come to this. More than any other platform, X, though especially when it was still Twitter, has been a spectacular enabler of connection and conversation, allowing any number of curious and inquiring folk access to sources and expertise once remote and rarefied. But it has also provided, and is increasingly providing, an inadvertent service in revealing just how many of our fellow citizens and public figures are any combination of malevolent, credulous, dangerous, and foolish, and that, as the wretched example of X's seething overlord demonstrates, monstrous wealth is no insulation against such flaws. For Monocle Radio, I'm Andrew Muller.
2024 is a defining year for global politics as more people head to the polls than ever before. How will shifts in power impact you? The Financial Times provides fearless thinking in defining moments. Its trusted journalists provide impartial analysis of the economy, politics, and business, so you can join the dots and see the full picture. Start reading the Financial Times at ft.com.